Okay, let's unpack. If you were a kid growing up in the 90s, or really just anyone paying attention to the cultural zeitgeist of animation at the time, there was a very specific hierarchy.
Oh, absolutely. The golden age.
Right. A golden age, if you will. You had the absolute juggernauts. You had Dragon Ball Z on one channel, which effectively about men screaming and hair-changing colors to represent escalating power levels.
Yeah, the unstoppable force.
And then you had Pokemon on the other, which was this sprawling commercial empire about collection and adventure.
Right. Those are the two pillars of 90s anime, the immovable object.
Exactly. But there was a third contender for the crown, a show that, for a lot of people, and I'm definitely including myself here, was the actual masterpiece of that era.
Oh, without a doubt.
It was grittier, it was significantly weirder, and it was surprisingly philosophical. We are talking, of course, about Yu Yu Hakusho.
It's interesting you frame it that way because while Dragon Ball was all about the external, getting stronger to beat the next guy, Yu Yu Hakusho feels like it was really about the internal.
Yeah.
It was about the cost of violence, the ambiguity of morality, and really just the trauma of growing up.
And that is exactly why we're doing this deep dive today. We've got a massive stack of source.
A very heavy stack.
Seriously. Production notes, character breakdowns, narrative arc. And our mission is to basically extract the DNA of this show. We want to figure out why a series that looks on paper like a standard battle manga is actually one of the most subversive, psychological, and enduring stories ever told in the medium.
Right. And to understand that subversion, you really have to look at the very first minute of the show.
Yes.
Most series in this genre, they spend the pilot episode building up the hero. They show you his potential, his dream, his hidden strength. They want you to root for him.
Right. And Yu Hakusho, it introduces the protagonist, Yusuke Urameshi, and immediately kills him.
Within the first 5 minutes.
Literally the opening scene. Yusuke is 14 years old, and the source material is very clear about it. He is not a good kid in the traditional sense.
No, not at all.
He's a delinquent, he smokes, he drinks, he gets into brawls constantly. The teachers hate him, the neighbors despise him. I mean, he is the absolute terror of Sarashiki Junior High.
He is socially isolated, and it's by choice and by reputation. So when a car comes speeding down the street towards a little boy playing with a ball, and Yusuke dives in to push the kid out of the way.
Taking the fatal hit himself.
Exactly, taking the hit. It's a huge shock.
It's a classic hero moment, right? Self-sacrifice. But here's where the show tips its hand and tells you, hey, we aren't doing the normal thing.
Right.
Yusuke wakes up as a ghost, floating there, looking down at his own dead body on the asphalt. And he meets Botan.
Botan's great.
She's the guide to the spirit world, flying around on a literal oar, dressed in a kimono, and she drops an absolute bombshell on him. She doesn't say, good job, hero.
No. She tells him his death was a complete and utter waste.
Oh, wait.
Yeah. Because the spirit world, as we find out, runs on data. They have actuarial tables for fate.
It's basically a massive bureaucracy.
Exactly. And according to their data, the child would have survived anyway. The ball would have hit a curb, the kid would have chased it, and the car would have just missed. Yusuke's intervention actually made things messy.
That is such a cynical, brilliant piece of writing. I mean, it strips the glamour away from the sacrifice immediately.
It does.
The universe basically looks at Yusuke and says, look, we weren't expecting you to do anything nice because you're such a jerk. And honestly, we didn't need you to do it anyway.
And it leaves Yusuke in this terrible existential limbo. He's a ghost with no place in heaven or hell because of a clerical error.
Right.
So Konma, the son of the ruler of the afterlife, who we should definitely mention, appears as a toddler with a pacifier.
A very demanding toddler.
Yes. Konma offers him a deal, a chance at resurrection.
But Yusuke refused. And I think this is where the character work really shines on. He looks down at his life. He sees his alcoholic mother, his angry teachers, his rival Kuwabara, who is always trying to fight him.
It's just a really bleak existence.
Yeah. And he thinks, you know what? The world is probably better off without me.
This is the core of the initial arc. It's not about fighting demons, it's about a 14-year-old boy dealing with severe depression and incredibly low self-worth. He genuinely believes trapped.
Until he sees his own wake. This scene is the hook that drags you in and floating above the funeral. And he sees Kuwabara.
Right, the guy he thought absolutely hated him.
Exactly. Kuwabara is furious. He's crying, screaming at Yusuke's picture because he has no one left to push him to be better.
It's heartbreaking.
And he sees Principal Takanaka, the one teacher who ever actually gave him a break, genuinely mourning him.
And then he sees his mother, Atsuko. She's usually a mess, but here she is completely broke, catatonic, and Keiko, his childhood friend, just sobbing uncontrollably.
It's the realization of impact. He realizes, oh, wait, I'm not invisible. I actually matter to them.
Yeah.
That's the catalyst for him. He decides to take the deal. He wants to go back. But the trial isn't exactly a walk in the park.
No, not at all. He is given a spirit beast egg, He has to carry it around while he wanders the human world as a ghost.
High-stakes babysitting.
Exactly. The egg feeds on his soul's energy. If he does good deeds, it hatches into a helper to guide him back to life. But if he emits negative energy, anger, violence, selfishness, it hatches into a monster that will devour his soul completely.
But the climax of this resurrection arc is surprisingly grounded in human connection. It's not a big magical battle. His body's about to be cremated. The clock is ticking down.
Right.
To return, he needs someone to breathe life into his body, specific through a kiss.
It sounds like a fairy tale trope, Sleeping Beauty, but the context around it is just chaotic.
It's a complete mess.
Yusuke's mom is incapacitated from drink. Kuwabara actually has a psychic dream about it, but is way too weirded out to go kiss his dead rival.
Yeah, he tries to shake it off.
So it falls to Kaiko, but she's at the hospital dealing with her own sick mother.
The tension here is palpable. You have Botan frantically trying to communicate with Kaiko through her sick mom's fever. Keiko finally gets the message and goes rushing to Yusuke's house, bursting in just as they are literally about to take the body away to the crematorium.
At the absolute last second.
She kisses him and bam, Yusuke blasts out of the coffin.
He's back. But the narrative has shifted completely. He isn't just a delinquent anymore. He have a debt to pay to the spirit world. He is officially appointed as the spirit detective.
Right.
His jurisdiction is the human world, and his job is to stop demons from causing havoc.
And this leads us to the formation of the core team, the 3 artifacts case. This is crucial because it introduces 2 characters who are arguably just as important to the legacy of the show as Yusuke himself, Kurama and Hiei.
It's really interesting to look at their introductions because they both start as villains. Yusuke is sent to recover 3 stolen treasures from the spirit world. Kurama, who is a fox demon trapped in a human body, has the Forlorn Hope mirror.
But Kurama isn't stealing for greed or power. He's stealing it to save his dying human mother. The mirror grants a wish, but in exchange, it takes the life of the person.
Right. Kurama fully intends to sacrifice himself.
This is where we see Yusuke's morality solidify. He doesn't just arrest Kurama or beat him up. He steps in and offers half of his own life force to the mirror so that Kurama doesn't have to die.
He saves the villain.
Yeah. It's that empathy again. Yusuke sees someone willing to die for their mom, and he respects it. But then you have Hei, and let's be honest, early Hei is an aberrant.
Oh, he is a straight-up antagonist. He has the Jaganai implanted in his forehead, which gives him all these psychic powers. He kidnaps Keiko. He turns innocent people into mindless zombies. He is genuinely cruel.
He's got that classic Vegeta energy.
Perfect comparison.
He's arrogant, completely obsessed with power, looks down on humans. Yusuke fights him, but he can't beat Hei on speed. Hiei is just way too fast. So how does Yusuke win?
He gets creative.
He bounces a spirit gunshot off the Forlorn Hope mirror to hit Hei from a blind spot.
That fight establishes the combat doctrine of the entire series. Yusuke is rarely the strongest or fastest person in the room. He wins because he's a street fighter, he fights dirty, he improvises.
Which is reinforced perfectly in the Genkai tournament. Yusuke realizes he needs training, so he enters a tournament to become the disciple of Genkai, who is this legendary, grumpy, psychic master.
Right.
There's a fight early on in the dark against a guy named Kibano. Yusuke is getting absolutely pummeled because he can't see a thing.
And Kibano has a special helmet that allows him to see heat signatures. It's a completely hopeless matchup for Yusuke.
Until Yusuke remembers that Genkai flicked a lit cigarette at Kibano earlier in the waiting, stuck it on the guy's belt. In the pitch black, Yusuke sees the tiny cherry of the burning cigarette. He aims his spirit gun at the light and fire.
It's tactical brilliance disguised as dumb luck, and it wins him the mentorship. He trains under Genkai, which, let's be real, is basically physical and mental torture, and eventually the 4 of them are brought together. Yusuke, Kuwabara, Kurama, and...
For the same.
Exact. This is where the squad truly solidify. You have the brawler, the tank, the strategist, and the speed. They invade Demon City to stop these demonic insects that are turning humans violent.
The dynamic here is key for anyone trying to understand the show's appeal. He and Kurama are technically on parole from the spirit. They are only helping Yusuke to reduce their... But you start to see the actual bonds forming.
You do?
Kuwabara, who is just a normal human guy who happens to have manifested a spirit sword, earns He's grudging respect by refusing to give up against Byakko, the massive white tiger demon.
But if the Saint Beasts were the warm-up, the next arc is the main event setup, the Rescue Yukina mission.
Yes, this is the pivotal moment where the genre shifts. It moves from these fun ghost detective adventures to something much heavier. Yukina isn't ice. Her tears turn into literal pearls, so she's held captive by a billionaire named Tarakan who just tortures her for profit.
And his bodyguards are the Toguro brothers.
Yusuke and Kuwabara fight the Toguros at the compound. They struggle, but they pull off a coordinated team attack and blast them. They think they've won. They rescue Yukina, who, by the way, the source material notes, is Hai's twin sister, though he absolutely refuses to tell her.
The booting is off the charts with Hai.
It really is.
Yeah.
But the victory is incredibly short-lived. Back in the city, sometime later, Toguro appears before you. He isn't dead. He isn't even scratched. He reveals that in their fight, he was using a tiny fraction of his power. He basically threw the fight for a separate contract. And to prove it to Yusuke, he destroys a multi-story concrete parking garage.
Just by flexing his aura.
That image is terrifying. It's not a ki blast, it's just his physical presence crushing the concrete. He tells Yusuke, "You have 2 months. Get stronger and enter the Dark Tournament, or I will kill everyone you know."
This leads us to part 2, the Dark Tournament. And we really have to pause here because this is constantly cited by fans and critics as the greatest tournament arc in anime history.
It is the absolute gold standard. The atmosphere is suffocating from the jump. They travel to Hanging Neck Island. The audience is entirely made of demons who actively want to eat them. Team Urameshi is the only human team there.
And the fights reflect that hostility perfectly. It's not a sport. It's a slaughterhouse. But what makes it so interesting is how it deconstructs the character. Take the fight between Yusuke and Chu in the early rounds.
Oh, the drunken fighter.
Yeah. Chu is a demon who actually gets stronger the more he drinks. He and Yusuke are evenly matched. They completely exhaust their spirit energy. In a normal shonen show, they would dig deep into their souls and find a new magical power at the last second.
All right.
Here, they agreed to the knife-edge deathmatch.
They stick 2 knives into the arena floor and plant their bare heels against the blade. They literally can't retreat without slicing their feet open. It's just 2 exhausted guys trading punches until one drops.
It strips away all the fantasy elements. It becomes a raw brawl about grit and mutual respect. Yusuke wins by a headbutt. It's visceral.
But not all the fights are about honor or respect. We have to talk about Kurama versus Team Urato, because this is where the mask really slips for him.
Yeah, this is a dark moment. An opponent named Urameshi uses a magical item called the Aidunba. He thinks it will turn Kurama into a helpless, de-aged baby.
Yeah, it was the plan.
But instead, it bypasses his human host body and reverts him to his previous demonic incarnate, Yokokuro, the legendary ruthless fox bear.
He goes from the polite, rose-wielding high school student to a silver-haired, cold-blooded demon lord. He summons a death tree that literally digests the opponent while keeping them alive in agony.
It's brutal.
It's a stark reminder for the audience that Kurama is not entirely safe. He is a monster wearing a human's.
And then there is Genkai. The emotional core of this entire massive tournament arc is the relationship between Genkai and the younger Toguro brother. The source material reveals a deeply tragic back here.
Yeah.
50 years ago, they were martial arts partners. And lovers.
They were the Yusuke and Kaiko of their generation, but a demon named Koto killed all of their students in a dojo massacre. Toguro was fundamentally traumatized by his own powerlessness in that moment.
Right.
They entered the Dark Tournament back then to get revenge, and they won. But the wishes they made as champions drove them apart forever.
Genkai wished to never participate again and to just age naturally as a human. Toguro wished to become a demon. He wanted eternal youth and absolute physical strength so he would never have to feel weak again. He literally sold his humanity for power.
And before the finals of the current tournament, he calls Genkai out to the forest. He kills her. It's not a big public spectacle in the arena. It's a quiet, private duel between former lovers. Kills the woman he loved because he knows it's the only way to make her enough to fight strength.
It's a deeply twisted form of mentorship. He is actively constructing the instrument of his own defeat. Yusuke inherits her spirit wave orb, which is this excruciatingly painful transfer of power, and he enters the finals carrying all that grief.
The final. Team Urameshi versus Team Toguro. The stadium is packed. The billionaire owner of the opposing team, Sakyo, bets his own life on Toguro. Kuinma matches him and bets his life on Yusuke.
The undercard fights are incredible on their own. You have Kurama fighting Karasu, where Kurama sacrifices his own life force to summon a vampire plant. He technically loses the match by countout because he's unconscious, but his plant kills Karasu.
Right.
Then he fights Bui. Hihoi finally masters the Dragon of the Darkness flame, absorbing it into his own body to become an absolute powerhouse.
Kuwabara fighting the Elder Toguro is great too. Elder Toguro is the shape-shifting sadist who mocks Genkai's death. Kuwabara gets so furious he manifests a shape-shifting spirit sword that looks like a giant fly swatter and flattens him.
But everything, all of this, builds to the main event, Yusuke versus younger Toguro. And this fight is a brilliant examination of the standard power-up trope.
Yes, exactly.
Toguro desperately wants Yusuke to use 100% of his power. Toguro himself distorts his own body, muscles growing over muscles until he looks like a grotesque gray titan. It's body horror. But Yusuke is holding back.
Yusuke is afraid. He's afraid that if he lets go of his restraint, He'll lose himself and become a monster like Toguro. So Toguro forces the issue. He starts killing audience members just with his aura. Then he attacks he physically plunges his hand into Kuwabara's chest.
It looks completely fatal. Kuwabara drops. Yusuke believes his best friend is dead.
And that snaps the lock. He doesn't power up out of a desire for glory or because he wants to be the strongest. He powers up out of pure, unadulterated guilt and rage over being unable to protect his friends.
The spirit gun he fires at the end is massive. It's a literal pillar of light. Toguro tries to block it with what he calls 100% power, but his demon body just can't hold the strain. He crumbles, and he actually thanks Yusuke as he dies.
But the real ending of the arc, the part that elevates the show, happens in the afterlife. This scene haunts me. Toguro is walking across the bridge to Judgment Spirit. Genkai is for him.
She's been resurrected because the team won the tournament and used their prize wish to bring her back.
Right. Toguro approaches the gates and requests limbo, the harshest, most unforgiving hell. 10,000 years of torture followed by the total cessation.
Yeah.
Genkai tells him he doesn't have. The spirit world judges knew he was a good man once, but he insists. He wants to atone for the sin of running away.
It completely reframes his whole villain arc. You realize he wasn't a monster, he was a tragedy. He got exactly what he wanted, absolute physical strength, and it cost him his soul.
It's a profound warning. Strength without a moral purpose is just self-destruction.
Now, usually, this is where the shonen show ends. The big bad is defeated, the ultimate lessons are learned, everyone goes home. But Yu Yu Hakusho decides to pivot into a completely different genre for Part 3, the Chapter Black Saga.
We move away from the martial arts tournament structure and plunge straight into psychological horror. The new threat isn't a demon from the underworld, it's a human, Shinobu Sensui.
The former spirit detective.
Yes, he is the dark mirror of Yusuke. Where Yusuke is messy and gray and operates on instinct, Sensui was pure black and white. He was rigid. He believed humans were inherently good and demons were inherently evil.
Until he saw the Chapter Black tape. It's a VHS tape kept hidden in the spirit world, containing tens of thousands of hours of humans torturing demons for entertainment and greed. Sensui stumbled upon a ritual where humans were bathing in demon blood. It completely broke his mind. He realized he had been killing the victims to protect the tormentors all along.
So he swings wildly to the other extreme. He decides humanity is a plague that must be wiped out entirely. He recruits 7 human psychics to help him open a massive tunnel to the demon world to let the horde.
And the battles here completely change. They are puzzle-based. They introduce territories, which are these conceptual zones where physical strength literally doesn't matter.
Right.
You have the taboo territory, controlled by a kid named Kaido, where saying a specific forbidden word instantly steals your soul.
That one is almost funny, honestly. Kurama defeats him by making grotesque, funny faces to force the guy to laugh and accidentally say the word. But then you have the doctor, Kamiya, who can cut nerves with his mind inside his hospital territory. Yusuke has to choose whether to permanently kill or save the other people in the hospital. It tests Yusuke's moral code because he's never killed a human.
But the most disturbing confrontation of this entire arc is, again, the gamer, Amanuma.
This is the moment that stuck with me more than anything else. Amanuma is just a kid. He's a lonely kid who manifests video games into reality. The team gets trapped in his territory. The game's rules state that if the villain of the game loses, the person playing the villain dies in the...
And Amanuma, who just thinks they're playing a fun game Sensui set up, is playing the character of the villain.
Yusuke can't handle this. He refuses to hurt a child. He's paralyzed. But Kurama is pragmatic. He steps up.
He doesn't fight the game. He fights the player. He psychologically dismantles Amanuma.
Yeah.
He tells the kid the truth. He says, Sensui is just using you as a roadblock. You're going to die here, and he won't even care. You mean nothing to him.
He induces such extreme panic and despair in the child that Amanuma starts crying, loses his focus, loses the game. We watch one of our core heroes effectively talk a child into a panic attack just to save the world. Incredible.
It draws a very sharp line between Yusuke and Kurama. Yusuke is the heart of the team. Kurama is the blade.
They eventually reach Sensui, and Sensui he's just on another level entirely.
He has fractured his mind into 7 distinct personalities just to cope with his trauma. You have Kazuya, the violent killer, and Minoru, the smooth manipulator.
Yeah.
He uses sacred energy, which is a holy power that completely overwhelms demonic energy. He dominates Yusuke. In fact, he kills Yusuke.
That's the second time Yusuke has died.
This death reveals the biggest twist of the series. Yusuke is lying there dead, and suddenly his heart starts beating. The source material calls it atavism. It turns out Yusuke has demon blood in his ancestry from 44 generations.
He is a Mazoku, a demon descendant. He wakes up, but he isn't himself. His hair grows incredibly long. These tribal tattoos appear all over his body. He is literally possessed by his ancient ancestor.
And this possessed version of Yusuke absolutely brutalizes Sensui. It's not a fight. It's an execution. But when Yusuke wakes up and the possession fades, he isn't happy at all.
He's furious. He looks at Sensui's broken body and realizes he didn't win. His great-great-grandfather won for him. He feels completely robbed of his... And Sensui, he dies.
Because Sensui reveals he was dying of a terminal illness anyway. He only had weeks to live. His goal wasn't actually just to wipe out humanity. It was to die in the demon world, killed by a powerful demon as some sort of twisted penance.
He orchestrated his own suicide by cop?
Exactly. So in a way, the villain won. He got exactly the ending he wanted. Yusuke is left alive, but he's confused and empty. He's asking himself, am I human? Am I a demon? Who is my father?
Which perfectly leads us to the final arc, part The Three Kings. And I think this arc often gets overlooked by people who just want the tournament action, but it is absolutely crucial for understanding the show's final.
Yusuke travels to the demon world to find his ancestor, Raisin, and he expects to find this towering, ruthless monster. But what he finds is a dying king.
Raisin is one of the Three Kings. They are the most powerful beings in existence, holding the demon world in a fragile state. But Raisin is starving to death. His stomach growls so loud it sounds like thunder. And the reason he's starving is love.
It's a romance story buried inside a political thriller. Centuries ago, Raisin came to the human world to eat. He met a woman, she was a healer, and she wasn't afraid of him at all. She challenged him.
Right.
They slept together, and he promised her he wouldn't eat another human until he saw her again.
But she died in childbirth. And Raisin kept his promise anyway. For 700 years, he has been starving himself out of pure loyalty to a memory.
It's tragic, but as Yusuke points out, it's also kind of pathetic. He's a king wasting away while his kingdom prepares for war. Meanwhile, the other two kings, Yomi and Mukuro, are gearing up to take over when he drops.
The alliances here are fascinating. Kurama joins Yomi, who is a blind demon. And we find out that Kurama is the actual Yomi.
Yeah, Kurama was a terrible person in his past life. He hired an assassin to blind Yomi because Yomi was arrogant and reckless and was going to get their bandit crew killed. Yomi knows this, but he still wants Kurama by his side as a tactician. It's a very complicated, tense friendship.
And he joins Mukuro. Mukuro is a hugely powerful female demon who is born, and her backstory is horrific. She poured acid on herself to make herself, quote-unquote, worthless to her cap.
Right.
She and Hai bond over their shared history of extreme trauma and being outcasts in a cruel world.
Raisin eventually dies of starvation. Yusuke inherits his territory and his army. He could try to conquer the demon world. He has the power to start a massive war.
But Yusuke looks at all this politics, the treaties, the armies, the posturing, and he just says, this is boring. Let's just have a tournament.
It is the ultimate Yusuke. He proposes that everyone dismiss their armies, step down from their thrones, and just fight one-on-one for the crown. Punching is literally the only language he speaks fluently.
Surprisingly, Yomi and Mukuro agree. They are tired of the centuries-long Cold War. They want the release of battle. All the old characters show up. Chu, Jin, the guys from the Dark Tournament. It becomes a massive festival rather than a...
And here is the final and perhaps most controversial subversion of the entire series. The main character, Yusuke, fights Yomi. It is the climax of the show. They are trading blows, pouring their absolute souls into the fight. And then
Yusuke loses.
He loses. He passes out mid-fight. Yomi remains standing.
But Yomi is so exhausted from fighting Yusuke that he ends up losing his next match in the tournament. The tournament just continues without the main characters involved at all. And the winner, a random demon named Enki. He's like a background character. He looks like a jovial, beer-drinking uncle. He wins the crown.
And his first decree as the new ruler of the demon world, no more eating humans. And because he won the tournament fair and square, everyone has to agree to it.
It's an anticlimax, but in the best possible way. Think about it. If Yusuke had won and forced everyone to stop eating humans, he would just be another tyrant imposing his will, like Toguro or Raisin.
Exactly.
But because Enki won, and because the demons genuinely enjoyed the sport of the tournament so much, the culture organically changed.
Yusuke didn't save the world by being the strongest king. He saved it by changing the conversation completely. He turned total war into a sporting event.
The series wraps up with everyone finding their lane. Hiki stays in the demon world as a border patrol. He still doesn't tell Yukina he's her brother, but he watches over her. Kurama returns to the human world, working at his stepfather's fully integrated, quiet.
Kuwabara is studying for high school entrance exam.
Yeah, he put down the sword for a pen. And Yusuke returns to the beach in the human world after being away. That final scene, Keiko is waiting for him. The sun is setting, tackles her into the sand, and they just start splashing water.
It's intimate. It's small. It's not a warrior sitting on a bloody throne. It's a boy with the girl he loves.
It brings the entire journey into focus. From a ghost trying to get his body back, to a detective fighting monsters, to a demon king candidate, the show consistently tells us that physical strength...
Toguro sought strength and lost his soul. Sensui sought moral purity and broke his mind. Raisin sought to keep a rigid promise and died of...
But Yusuke sought connection. He started as a lonely punk who thought the world would be better off without him. He ended up with a family, demons, humans, spirit guide.
He wins because he's a connector. He bridges the gap between human and demon, not by conquering anyone, but by being messy, honest, and authentic.
It's a powerful takeaway. In a genre fundamentally defined by power levels and transformation sequences, Yu Yu Hakusho argues that the strongest person is actually the one who has a reason to stop fighting.
It's brilliant.
Deep stuff. And that, folks, is why this show still holds up 30 years later. It tricks you into coming for the cool fight and then hits you with the heavy philosophy. That wraps up our deep dive on the Spirit Detective Saga. Thanks for listening. Keep your spirit energy up, watch out for cars, and we'll catch you in the next one.